talk about the potential of BABB, of blockchain, of course, but BABB means it's the abbreviation of bank account-based blockchain. So it doesn't. There are people they call themselves. They are called BABB. So it's that's why we called it BABB. So the structure here for me to speak, I think I have 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So I have 20 minutes. I will try to be. Before I start, of course, I would like to ask you a question so I know how deep I can go to technicality of that. Who has good experience in blockchain and who implemented already something in the blockchain? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's say 25% of you. So I will try to balance that. So first of all, where I come from and what's my background. So I'm Averroes, founder and CEO of BABB. I have background in financial inclusion, microeconomy, microfinance, micropayment. I am a big believer in financial inclusion. So there are 1.7 billion people around the world completely excluded from the banking because of a lot of different issues. And blockchain I think is the solution to get these guys in the system. So they can contribute to the economy, and then we can connect, we can create opportunities and leverage ideas and exchange value. So before I start and say how can blockchain help the banking, I will say why BABB is there, why we want to build BABB, why we want to use blockchain, what's the reason behind that? Of course, the reason is we would like to create opportunities to make a difference. We believe that if everyone has equal access to banking, they will be having much more opportunities to generate their own income. So there is a huge reason behind us why we start. Before we say how we implement the blockchain is why we are doing it. So the reason is purely for financial inclusion. If you do financial inclusion, means we do also social inclusion. So we are socially equal. I am excluded, you are excluded. So, and I came up with this idea because when I first time came to the UK, I was excluded from the banking system for 1.5 years. And I was like frustrated. Why? I have money, I'm like everyone else. It's because why couldn't I have a bank account in the UK? Why every bank rejected my application? But the reason was simple. You are new, you don't have a credit history or address history. That's why the bank didn't trust me. So I was saying, I'm sure there are solutions. And I was curious. I would like to know why. Not only me, but a lot of students who were excluded. At the time, like less than 10 years ago, the banks were really very conservative. And I understand, of course, everything is based trust. So they only want to work with people they trust, which is fair enough. But we could have find a different way to trust each other. Not only saying where you live, it's not like I am mafia or anything like that. I know where you live. It's not about that. We can prove and we can trust each other using like blockchain, for example, to say this is me and this is my unique ID in this world. But that's why we came up with BABB. So, and now we need to know why banks are excluding a lot of people from the system. It's because it costs them a lot of money, and it's not easy for the onboarding cost. If you are a student, then they say, "Oh, you have low income," and if we onboard you, the onboarding maybe will cost us £1,000, and if you keep this account open, we will pay 250 a year. Is it really worth it for the bank? So they say no, but. That's why the existing banking system can't help the financial inclusion, and I believe that banks cannot address financial inclusion yet because again cost, complexity, and even when you want to transfer let's say, £100 using SWIFT or IBAN or any type of payment gateways or payment methods, £100 will cost the bank more or less 25, 35, and they will ask you to pay that. So you cannot use the bank to transfer micro payment. If you transfer £1,000 to £4,000, fine, you can afford to pay the fees. But if you want to transfer or you want to contribute or give a donation or send your family money somewhere, even in Europe, I'm not saying in Middle East or Africa, that's a different issue as well. So the benefit of using blockchain is to reduce the cost of doing business. Is like what we are trying to achieve at BABB is we need to have two control of two main things. One is the technology we are building, so we don't need to do inter-integrations with legacy systems that cost a lot of money and it's full of frictions. So we have to build our own technology based in a completely different architecture and different business architecture. It's not only the system itself, but also the business architecture is different and structure is different. So we need to have control of two things in order for us to reduce the cost of doing business and onboard really anyone from anywhere in the world, even if they have £1 a day. We can still afford to onboard them. And imagine if you have the tool that allows you to send your family like £5 for a coffee now, or a donation. You can contribute to any kind of cause you care about, and you send £2 or £3, and that's based in the blockchain. It's transparent. So that the two things that we want to have control of are being a bank ourselves. So we are applying for a bank license in 2 different jurisdictions. One is Cayman Islands. Cayman Islands type of bank is for really anyone in the world. So we can onboard really anyone from anywhere in the world without asking where you live or your address. Because we can prove that differently. We can use the blockchain to make sure that this is rushed, not someone else. So we stack the blockchain technology with different technology like biometrics, artificial intelligence, and voice recognition biometrics, facial recognition biometrics. All of these things because one of the reasons of the financial exclusion, like in Middle East, Africa, some of the Asian, even in the UK, we have 1.6 million people are financially excluded. In Europe, we have 60 million people. So in order for some of the reasons why people are excluded, not only just because of the cost, but also the identity. Some of them, they don't either have identity, or they can't renew it, or they are remote, they can't go to the city and have an ID and all of that. With blockchain, I believe this is the best usage of blockchain I have. I believe in that huge potential in creating digital identity. Going to a trusted agent or a trusted party, like a bank or anything, saying, look, this is me, you can take a photo of me, you can take a face recognition biometrics, and this is my ID. I don't have a passport, but I have a certificate that it's me. It was signed by my lawyer, or my accountant, or a group of friends. So it's me, it's rushed. When they register with us, we will know that this person is the person that said he's the one. And we didn't need to renew that. We didn't need to notify him, oh, by the way, your passport was expired, your account is now closed. No, you didn't need to do that, because nobody can get in your name or do it like that. That's the beauty of blockchain. So the different use case, not only for the digital identity, but also to enable micropayment. So if someone has a business that requires to collect money from the mass, but the amount of each transaction is, let's say, a pence or 5 pence, 10 pence, or £1, Visa, MasterCard will say, no, sorry, this is, I can't afford that. The transaction itself costs MasterCard or Visa card, let's say, 30 pence. How can I support a transaction that has 20 pence? So nobody can afford a micro payment at the moment in the market. So if you have a shop and you want to apply for a terminal and the POS with Visa, MasterCard, they will ask you, what's the volume? How much transactions? How many transactions per month you can generate? What's the average per transaction? So if you tell them, well, I will do 100 transactions, and each transaction is £2, £3, £5. Well, sorry, it can't include you because it costs us a lot of money. It costs you. You have to apply for a landline and to get these terminals. It costs you a lot of things. With blockchain, the shop owner has already a phone. The person who's going to buy has a phone, or a simple plastic QR code, or anything like that. That's the beauty of blockchain. So it's trusted, it's connected, it's secure, and you don't need that infrastructure because everyone is using the phone as nodes to connect with each other. So we said digital identity in terms of application of blockchain, which has really huge potential. You have enabling microtransactions, and so yes, and also creating inclusive platforms. So you don't, because you are not building a platform that costs you 100 million using Temenos or anyone who provides core banking system. You have less team to manage that because you will enable a lot of automations using smart contracts, which is you say, okay, you can pre-configure all of these transactions, and then you try to automate, so you reduce the cost of doing business, and then you. The beauty of that is, blockchain, you don't need a huge technical team behind. You don't need a lot of maintenance. You don't need a lot of security wrappers like what's happening in the banking at the moment. So the banks have like 100 layers of security, technical security, to make sure who gets access to what and how. The beauty of blockchain is one transaction in the blockchain has the audit, the confirmation, the security in one transaction. So that's how we reduce the cost of doing business. How much time is left? Okay, so I would like to have some time for you guys to ask me some questions. So yeah, so I believe that blockchain will change the way how we do business, how we interact with each other financially. It enables 1.7 billion people in the world to get into the economy. So, as you know, cash costs a lot of money for the government, for central banks, and for us as well, because they have to print, they have to fight counterfeit, they have to do a collection of cash, transport of cash. It costs like in Indonesia, the central bank, if I remember, so for billions, if it's not 2 or 3 billions a year, USD, to manage the cash, transportation, security, storage, printing, revoking cash, all of that thing. So imagine that you have a society that uses the blockchain, and they have very less interaction with cash. So I believe, and one of the other things we are trying to achieve at BABB is to work closely with central banks, especially in the emerging markets, because in the country, in the economies like US, UK, they are the leaders. They don't want to. They want to do it their way, which is we understand. But in the emerging markets, they are looking for solutions to reduce the cost of not only international payment but local, like getting the pension or anything to do with small transactions within the country. So we try to work with central banks in these emerging markets to help them to issue their own digital currency. They call it CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency Issuance, where they can pay and get paid in the country using this type of technology, which is based on the blockchain. It's a cryptocurrency type of, so they can be able to pay wages, get paid, online payment without, they can do a leapfrog from, it's like a kind of jumping from the landline to a mobile straight away. So central banks in the emerging markets are looking very, very, very seriously, investing billions now to understand how to issue a digital currency like Bitcoin, but it's centralized, unfortunately, to reduce this cost of cash, processing cash, and fraud, and all of these things. And some countries, they're already doing some pilots, like in Saudi Arabia, between Saudi Arabia and Dubai now. They recently have had an agreement to start using this new coin to settle between themselves. So the citizens in Saudi Arabia and Dubai, they can send to each other a digital currency, which is amazing. How much money and time and frictions you will remove them from the system if these guys jump to a very simple technology called blockchain to exchange values. And I think they are in the right direction. If they can do that, maybe they will be even before UK and before the US to start helping the local economy to do that. And it's much more secure, so it's going to be limiting a lot of like fraud, terrorism financing, money laundering. It will reduce that dramatically because it's based on the blockchain, digital identities in the blockchain, and so on and so forth. So yes, and I think, for me personally, I think blockchain is the solution for the financial exclusion. I believe that's why we are investing a lot of money and time and effort to build our technology in the blockchain and not to use anything to do with legacy system except for payment gateways and that, because we don't want to use legacy systems, are really very expensive and there are a lot of people involved in that. So we need to remove middlemen and try to leverage this technology in the right way.